What it do, golf fans? Welcome back to the Turn Dollars Golf Podcast. This is Liam. Alongside me is Jack. Jack, we had a week in golf, I guess. I mean, it was the Zurich, which is a golf tournament on the PGA Tour calendar. Uh, Thoughts, comments, concerns, or are we moving right on to the Byron Nelson?
I did. I watched two shots of that tournament. I was watching the LPGA Major where it was the playoff of the century. Not really. I guess not the playoff of the century. There's just drama out the wazoo. No, I could care less about the Zurich. I don't know why they do it.
Yeah, I agree. One of my least favorite events of the year, admittedly. I would rather take the 3M Open 52 times than the Zurich Classic personally. I don't know why they don't just make it another week, but I guess those guys need a break for whatever reason, so they just throw this duos competition in there.
Play it and do this. Dumb.
Yeah, I don't know. Shout out to the winners though, Ben Griffin and Andrew Novak. But I mean, both PGA Tour guys, which is nice. So that's nice for them. I kind of talked about it, how basically, I think they said, and I quote, they are going to be a risky option this week, but they have a very rewarding upside if they manage to pull it both together. I said that about Ben Griffin and Andrew Novak. I also said that about the Højgaard brothers, who I think finished top 3. Don't quote me on that.
2.
They finished second? Okay, yeah. I was going to say, I knew them, and then Jake Knapp and Frankie Sappin were all right there, so that makes sense. Do you have any thoughts on this? Did you hate? I mean, I know you hate the format and you hate everything about this tournament too, just like me. But any questions, comments, concerns on it? Or I'm going to get into the notable guys missed cut, some low price guys we were over, and then we can get into quickly lineups, go through it, and get on to Byron Nelson.
I didn't watch the event, so I don't have any thoughts. That's sad coming from me. I watch every golf possible.
Yeah, makes sense. All right, well, notable teams missed cut: Akshay Bhatia and Carson Young, Colin Morikawa and Kurt Kitayama, Wyndham Clark and Taylor Moore, EVR and Bez Wiedenhout, and then Matt and Alex Fitzpatrick. Some best priced options that we were all over: Jake Knapp and Frankie Sappin, who finished 3rd, Michael Thorbjornsen and Carl Phillips, who finished T4, and then the Højgaard brothers, who I liked, who finished 2nd. I also was high on not liking Colin Morikawa and Kurt Kitayama, which ended up saving me at least last week, because I know a lot of people like them for a bet and things like that throughout the week, so that was tough with their miscut. Some of my misses were EVR and Christian Bezuidenhout, and then Laurie Cantor and Jordan Smith I liked. So tough, but it happens. Did your DraftKings lineup do anything last week? Do you even care?
Yeah, I actually did really well. Funny enough, I not to throw you under the bus because you beat me by 100 2 weeks ago. I beat you by 100 this week. I had 3 teams in the top 12. So in a random event like this, that will do, and I will take it every single day of the week.
Yeah, my lineup kind of got all screwed up. Billy Horschel, who I was him and Tom Hoagie, I was really high on him last week. Horschel, I think, withdrew on Wednesday afternoon. I don't even know what the injury he cited was. But I managed to change my lineups around. It didn't really change anything. So I basically had Robert McIntyre and Thomas Dietrich, who finished T32. Keith Mitchell and JT Poston finished 18, and everybody else in my lineup sucked. So with that was basically that. On to bets. How'd your bets do last week?
I did 2 bets, and I stated I put a singular dollar on both because I did not care. I went 1-1. Mitchell Poston finished top 20 at -120, and then Shane Lowry and Rory McIlroy top 20 in round 1, missed by a shot. So I technically lost 0.16 units, which in the grand scheme of things, if you're a $100 better, means I lost 16 cents. So I feel pretty good about my my bets.
Yeah, you'll live. I don't think that 0.16 is really going to hurt you very much. I had 3 bets. Obviously, one of them was Billy Horschel and Tom Hoagie at top 20. That was voided because of the injury. They didn't end up playing. So I ended up going 1-1. I had Keith Mitchell and JT Poston top 20 round 1. That was a win. And then I had Laurie Cantor and Jordan Smith top 20, and that was obviously a loss because they missed the cut. But I ended up gaining 0.25 units on the week. So now I'm up 16.70 units on the year. So woohoo, I gained 0.25 units on a boring week. So we'll take it. On to wildcards. How'd your wildcard do last week, Jack?
smacked. I told you guys to take Justin Lauer and Chad Ramey because they were being severely underlooked, and they finished top 20 at plus 255. You're welcome. Have a nice day. I put $1 on that too, and of my $3 that I spent this week, I technically profited. I don't even know anymore. I'm done.
Yeah. No. It's funny because on the dock it shows as Lowry and Ramey, so I thought it was a parlay at first where you parlayed them both together too, and I was like, oh, that also would have hit. So that's why I was like, oh, good winner. But no, I forgot it was like Lauer and Ramey. That's right. Mine was a crazy one. I was not the highest of all time on, but it was Carl Phillips and Michael Thorbjornsen that finished top 10 at plus 333. That was a W. They finished T4. So that was a nice win. I now have 10 wins and 15 losses on wild cards. So we're doing pretty good, all things considered. Basically, 2 out of every 5 winners I'm hitting. So it's not bad. For every 2 wins, I have 3 losses. I'm basically making money at that point on wild cards. On to winners. How'd your winners do? I know Mitchell and Poston were what, like T18?
Yeah, T18. And then Rory and
they were like T12, right, or T11?
Yeah, something like that. I have to pull it up.
Yeah, no worries. I think they were T12. So that was nicely done. I had I had Billy Hill and Tom Hoagie. Changed it the same to just Dietrich and McIntyre, who finished T32, and then Laurie Cantor and Jordan Smith missed cut. So with that, let's get out of the shitty Zurich Classic. We are moving on to the Byron Nelson at TPC Craig Ranch in Texas. This is a par 71 totaling 7,500 yards. Kind of a boring birdie fest type of course. Larger than average greens. Par 5s here are basically a joke. None of them are over 575 yards. There's a 505-yard par 5. This is a birdie-centric golf course, so it's going to be really easy for these guys. Everybody should be able to make birdies here. There is only one course on the PGA Tour that has a higher correlation to success with strokes gained approach than here at Craig Ranch, so approach is going to be, it's always important, but it's even more important this week. Overall driving distance and then around the green play, they're really not important at all here. It's got almost zero correlation. They're ranked 48th and 50th out of 52 courses that fit in this range. Basically, if you have good approach and good flat stick, that's really all you need to contend this week. With that being said, this field there's 3 or 4 good names, and then everybody else just kind of is below 50 feet of shit, basically, is the best way to describe it. It's going to be a really interesting week because there are only 4 big names in the field. So take with that what you choose. Jack, do you have any other thoughts on Craig Ranch, or are we getting right into DraftKings?
No, this is a way better event, and I'm actually excited for it. This is going to be, unless Scotty Scheffler finally turns on the gas, should be a competitive event, which means I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, that's the big if there, so we'll see. But with that being said, let's loop together these top 3 guys. We have Scotty Scheffler at 13,300, Jordan Spieth at 10,500, and then Sungjae Im at 10,000. Well, who you like?
Well, first off, I like Jordan Spieth. Now, this is a continuation of every single week that I have had for Jordan Spieth. He has looked spectacular. He's played this event 3 times, a 2nd place, a 9th place, and a miscut last year, but this is when he was dealing with that wrist injury really, really bad. So I'm not really taking that into consideration. He looks really, really good over the last 6 weeks. Outside of the Players, where he did finish just inside the top 60, he's got a 9th, 28th, 12th, 14th, and 18th, and has looked really solid all across the board. When you take a look at the statistics here and you see the 4th most expensive guy is Sam Burns, that's a scary and volatile lineup. Jordan Spieth has an opportunity to really break through on this event because, as we've seen, his mistakes have really been mitigated, and it's a lot about the birdie conversion, which is kind of taking him from 20th place all the way up to 4th place, which I think is definitely possible. I think This is a really good week that he can kind of capitalize on that and go through. For me, though, I do want to fade Scotty Scheffler a little bit. Now, when I say fade, he is almost $3,000 more expensive than the next guy. And in terms of DFS, it's different than my bets. It's different than how I think he's going to play. Scotty Scheffler has not looked like Scotty Scheffler this year, and even that's was saying with like 4 top 5s or top 8s or top 10s in his last 7 starts, which is crazy. But ever since he won at the Hero, he really has not surpassed any expectations. His strokes gain measurement has just been consistent. Around the green play has decreased. His putting has decreased over the time, which is kind of crazy to think. And he hasn't really dominated this event. He has a 47th, a 15th, and a 5th. Didn't play it last year. It's hard for me to grasp a 13,300 guy. He's probably going to finish like 5th place or better. But it's just the volatility for me is still there for $13,300. It's scary.
So you've mentioned it a couple times, and I'll say it. The CJ Cup at Byron Nelson has only been played, I think, since 2021. So there's not a ton of strokes gained data. You mentioned Scotty. Look, is he not maybe playing as great as he did last year or the year prior? Sure, but like this field is pretty shitty. So realistically, he might not even have his best week and still win by like 4 strokes. I mean, he could play really bad golf and still win here, no problems. So I think he's a good option this week. You talked about his numbers being down. They're down slightly, but they're still like exponentially better than anybody else in this field. If he makes sense to fit into your budget, go get him. But I also understand if you sit there and you're like, hey, he's like $3,000 more than the next expensive guy, don't worry about it then. Don't go get him. Go get Jordan. I get it. I'm a little more bullish on Spieth here than I am most weeks. I mean, we're back in Texas. He's gained with the putter in 5 of his last 6 starts. During that stretch, he's got 5 top 28 finishes. He's also had 2 top 10 finishes here at Cut Ranch. I think he finished runner-up in like 2022. This is a week where I can get going to Jordan. Again, I don't love him being the second most expensive guy in the field, but I like him a hell of a lot more than the rest of the guys below him. Sung JM, I'll just mention a highlight on him. He's worrisome. He's lost on approach in 9 of his last 11 starts. And although he's gotten a couple decent finishes during that stretch, it's basically been him gaining almost 6 strokes gained around the green those weeks, which is just not going to come into play this week. It will not matter. He's never played here at Craig Ranch, and that makes me think he's probably going to fly under the radar. I think a lot of people are going to try and be different and be like, I'm going to go to Sung Jae because everybody's going to want Scotty and Jordan. I think that still makes him a risky play, though, to rely on the fact that he cannot hit an approach shot right now. So I would avoid him personally. But again, I think if you can fit him in your price point, go get Scotty. If he doesn't make sense, if you go with Jordan, you will not be alone. You'll probably be like 40% of all DFS players. So,
yeah, I also think honestly this is going to be very hot, but I think Sam Burns is also a sneaky play. Burns looked really good at the RBC Heritage. He looked like Godzilla the couple weeks beforehand. He was awful. But if you really look at his stats, he's gained at least half a stroke outside of the Masters on putting since Waste Management. It's really the approach play that's really been killing him, and he's been steadily increasing every single week. So if he could just keep it on the planet, this is a course that I think he can kind of take advantage of with his strengths. I envision he can really take advantage of that. You know, when he played really well here, it was his approach play that really separated him. Now, comparatively, we're taking a look at events like RBC Heritage, Masters, Players, API, where he's really struggled. You take a look at the guy below him in Benny On, who at the beginning of the year we were worried would never even be able to hit the sweet spot of a golf club.
Yep.
Telling me that this guy that is former top 10 in the world, and really, if you really think about the world rankings, he's probably somewhere between 35 and 42, if you really think about it. It's really not that crazy. Now, statistics-wise, if this was like the Waste Management or the Players or even next week at Truist, which is former Wells Fargo, terrible name as well, that's a different story. But this is an event with the putter that I think you can just maximize it. I think we may see another 2+ strokes gained putting week.
Here's the challenge with Burns, and I get it. He's lost on approach in 12 of his last 13. It's brutal. You also talked about his putter saving him most weeks. Even when his putter manages to save him, he's making cuts, but he's not even finishing top 40 in a majority of those starts. It just concerns me with Burns. I feel like I'm trying to rely on a guy whose basically entire ability is the putter to save him. And even when his putter saves him, it doesn't give him a top 40 finish. I don't think it makes sense for the 4th most expensive guy. I mean, if you like Burns, at that point, you might as well like Sung Jae In. Because like Sung J M is basically an identical version of Burns, but he can manage to finish top 40 in some tournaments. He's only $200 more. So I think Burns, he's a tough one. I actually like Benny On this week. He's played here twice. He's got a T14 and a T4. His approach play here has been borderline spectacular. He's gained at least 4 strokes in both of those starts. And he's gained another 4 strokes between his other 2 starts here. He's also gained on approach in just 4 of his last 5 starts in general. And he's gained on tee to green in each of his last 5. So Benny On is doing great as far as ball striking goes. This is kind of a Benny On type of course to do quite well on. Some spot where he can just get off the tee and absolutely mash with his irons. This is the kind of spot that he has an opportunity to do something, I think, really good with, personally.
I hate it. I was disappointed to see Keith Mitchell did withdraw because I would have bet dollars to donuts on him. I think he's a really interesting pick. Yeah. One guy for me that's, I think, very sneaky, but I also am terrified of him is also Siwoo Kim.
Yeah.
Siwoo Kim is a monster when he gets his irons going. And if you really take a look, he's had 3 missed cuts on his last 4 starts. But if you take a look at the starts in between that, RBC Heritage 18, API 19, Genesis 24, Waste Management 21, 12 at AT&T. The weeks he's been struggling, Zurich, who cares? I don't even care about that one. Texas Children, Valero, Texas. I think that this is an opportunity for him to really bounce back. And what I saw in the last week in the events that he's missed cuts on is it's been the putter. Off the tee and approach game has been close to even or better. And I think this is going to be a good week where he can kind of capitalize. His last 2 starts here have been runner-up and 13th. And even so, on the 13th place finish, he lost almost half a shot with the putter. So I think this is an event that he really has the opportunity to stand out, especially 9,400. I don't hate it at all, my friend.
Yeah, I don't hate Siwoo Kim this week. I'm a little worried because he can sometimes give the Terrell Hatton type of energy of old, where when he starts to kind of internally self-destruct and struggle on the golf course, there's no coming back for him. When that happens, he really just crumbles and falls apart. But this is a week in outfield where Siwoo, I don't hate getting to him. I admittedly like Benny On a lot more, but Siwoo probably would be second or third in this grouping for me.
I don't hate it. I think a lot of people are going to be bullish on Ben Griffin just because he won a team event with Andrew Novak. I love Ben Griffin. I love him for a couple of different reasons, but you really take a look at the events prior to that. He finished 18th at the Children, and then outside of the top 75 in 2 straight events. This is also an event that's probably going to get to 20 under, 21, 22 under.
Ben Maybe Griffin, 25.
Yeah. Outside of Cognizant, he really hasn't surpassed that. Maybe at Vedanta, where he played really well, 2 events that he has been able to score really low. Outside of that is more so bogey avoidance and capitalize on opportunities. And I think this price is a little high for him, which is crazy considering the field. So I'm kind of steering clear of him this week, even though I do like him.
No, I could totally see on that one. And Taylor Pendrith is the winner here from last year. He ended up winning this tournament. I don't love the way he's playing personally. I get if you want to go back to him. I personally will be avoiding that. Beyond that, any other thoughts in 9K, or are we going down to the 8K range?
I'm in 8K, baby.
All right. Rasmus Højgaard at 8,900 down to Harry Hall at 8,000.
Well, let me tell you, there's one guy that I have not mentioned in the 3 years of this podcast, probably, if I really look back in speech analytics, that's Ryan Gerard. I am heavy on him. I have been studying his game for weeks, and I have been waiting, and I finally saw something I liked of him at the RBC Heritage and also at Valero. Now, Ryan Gerard was a Corn Ferry guy up until this year. He missed the cut 2 years ago at Byron Nelson, but let me tell you guys, this guy is solid all around, and he has an opportunity to really surpass expectations here. We have a major misprice. Now, you see the number of events, 31 to 38 on DraftKings. Obviously, he has not played 38 events this year, but it takes into account the previous season's Corn Ferry, which is a mistake on DraftKings. But outside of that is PGA Tour season. He has missed 1 cut, and it was at the Puerto Rico Open where he lost 2.5 shots total. Outside of that, he has only lost 1 time strokes gained, and that was 0.03 at Valspar. This guy is a strokes gained machine. He's averaged, and the average is like 0.2, 1%, 2% on distance and accuracy measures. He's gained everywhere around the green, and he's gained putter almost every single event outside of Valero, where he's still finished inside the cut. This is a major misprice, and he has shown many times this year on his PGA Tour career, 65, 66, 66, 67 is in the cards. I envision a top 20 performance out of him. I love it. Lock it in.
Yeah, I've been high on Gerard since the Cognizant. So I talked about him at the Honda or the Cognizant. I liked it because he finished T4 there a couple years back. So I've been high on him too. He's been basically cashing 40s, top 40s at almost every event since then outside of Valspar. He's also gained on approach him with the putter in 8 of his last 10 starts. Also, side note with Ryan, he has 2 top 10s in 2 other Texas tournaments in the past month. So not necessarily like a really like firm data, but like if you do well in a state, sometimes you just play really good golf in that state. It just
Billy Horschel, Florida.
Yeah, Billy Horschel with Florida. You could argue Spieth with Texas is the same way. So I love the idea of going to Ryan Gerard this week.
Oh yeah, let me get my other guy.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, it's not you. I just interrupted you. It's Rio Hisasune, and if you know anything about him, I've talked about him way more times than anybody should be physically talking about Rio Hisasune for like over a year. And I know that's really sad because most people are finally starting to recognize him. But 18, 5, 47, 4, 10, that is all his starts in the last 7. He had 2 missed cuts. Oh, at the Players and the Cognizant, 2 course comps that could not be farther away from where we at this week. This guy's a monster. He's gained on putting in 5 straight weeks, around the green in 4, approach play everywhere, off the tee, everywhere except for 0.13 in the negative at Texas Children's. He is actually gaining tremendously on the distance measurements, which was killing him before, and he finished 13th at last year's Byron Cup. Let me tell you guys, this is also a misprice at 8,300. Should probably be a little lower if we're going to be honest, but I also think it's pretty even in terms of what the performance is. He is going to be a monster. I think he's going to be severely underlooked this week.
So you'll laugh at this. My note that I was just about to say before you talked was Rio Hisasune. He has really started to figure it out the last 6 weeks or so. He's got 4 top 20 finishes in his last 5 starts, gained on approach and with the putter in each of those 4 starts. Also played here last year, finished T13. So you and I basically had the same exact stats there on Rio. So that's super funny. I'm going to mention a couple other guys. Will Zalatoris is somebody I would avoid. He's lost with the putter in 7 of his last 8 starts, and he's not just losing with the putter, he's losing horribly. We're talking at least 2 strokes gain lost in each of those 7 starts. We have 4 strokes gain lost in 4 of those 8 starts. So he's not losing, he's hemorrhaging. It's looking ugly. Tom Kim is similar. I don't like him either. He's lost on approach in 5 of his last 6 starts. Similar concept. He's lost at least 2 strokes gained on approach in 4 of those 6 starts. He's lost at least 4 strokes gained on approach in 4 of those last 6 starts. So I think both Will Zalatoris and Tom Kim, although this is a weak field and this is their opportunity to do well, I don't see it this week. I don't really see anything that gives them the opportunity to. I don't hate the idea.
22 under.
What's up?
Especially when they're going to 22 under.
Yeah, Will Zalatoris has never been the guy that consistently can get to 22 under par. I don't hate the idea of going to Jacob Bridgman. There's not a ton of data on him, but he did finish 3rd at the Valspar. He missed the cut at the Houston, Texas Open. But prior to that, he, I think, had made 6 straight cuts, including a T2 at Cognizant. Again, not exactly a comp course. But Jacob Bridgman has been playing really, really good golf in the last 6 or 7 weeks. His approach play has been quite good as well, where he's gained in 4 of those 6 starts. So I don't hate the idea if you want to go to Bridgman. If you want to pick a Højgaard brother, I would take Rasmus over Nikolai personally, but it's basically a flip of a coin on which one's going to do better week in and week out, in my opinion. Cool. Any other thoughts in the AK or down to the 7s?
I'm ready.
All right. Matt Wallace at 7,900 down to Hayden Springer.
Yeah, I think for me, the one guy I really like in this field, I think some people are probably going to get to Davis Riley. I can understand that a ton, but I really like Sami Välimäki this week. Just for the record, I'm excluding Zurich Classic data out of every single metric I'll ever look at.
Yep.
He's dominated dominated in a sense, basically since missing the cut at Waste Management, has made every single cut. 18th at RBC, 12th at Valero, 4th at Texas Children, all while losing shots around the green. The one stat Liam said at the beginning of this podcast that literally does not matter is stroke play around this green this week. This guy is a bomber, and he's also went from that bomber kind of a bomber. He fluctuates, but has also turned up the accuracy numbers over the last 6 weeks, which in turn has helped his approach play, his putter, his green and regulation percentages, his attack percentages, his make percentages, just everything in between. He did miss the cut here in his starting event at Byron Nelson, but basically since then he's really improved as a golfer. And for 7,300, my rule is 7,500 and lower is make a cut. I genuinely think he has an opportunity to do that to a high degree, and I think he's going to surpass that pretty good.
Yeah, no, I don't blame you. He's definitely a good option. I'm looking around. I thought, oh yeah, there he is. Alejandro Tosti is 7,300. Prior to missing the cut at the Zurich, which is Jack said, we do not care. He has 3 straight top 12 finishes. He's also gained on approach in 5 straight starts. Alejandro Tosti is a bomber. He's going to knock the cover off of the golf ball. This guy can hit it probably, 320 off the tee. Jack, is that appropriate for him to say?
Yeah.
I mean, Alejandro Tosti is one of the longest hitters on tour. He's in a range where he could easily finish top 5, and I don't think there's a lot of guys in this range. Again, maybe Valimaki, a few others, but not a lot of guys in this range will have the opportunity to even have the chance to finish top 5 in this tournament. Alejandro Tosti can do that, so I don't hate the idea of going to him. I know you didn't love Davis Riley, but he has made the cut in 7 straight starts. He's also picked up strokes gained on approach in 6 of them. He's also gained in 6 of his last 7 starts with the putter. So during this stretch, he's got 5 top 40 finishes. His off the tee game as far as strokes gained is slightly concerning, but he's just got to basically find the planet here. Driving distance is not important. So as long as Davis Riley just keeps it on the planet, I think he has a good opportunity to do solid this week.
Yeah, I didn't hate Davis Riley. I just wasn't bullish on him, as I know some people are this week.
Yeah, and I think that's a bit of the challenge that Davis Riley is a little bit of a flash in the pan, kind of an interesting choice that's popular with people this week. I can see why. He's going to be an interesting one. I'll mention one last guy at 7K. Hayden Springer is an interesting choice to get to this week. He's been playing really good golf recently. He missed the cut at the Waste Management, but outside of that, he's not missed a cut since the Shriners in October. I want to say that's 10 starts. He had a 6th at the Farmers. He's got, I think, 5 or 6 top 40s during that stretch. So it's not flashy, but at 7K flat, he's a good option to make the cut. And really, that's all, as Jack says, under 7,500, make a cut. And Hayden Springer is one of the best ones in that option, or in that range when it comes to making a lot of cuts.
Yeah, I get the only other guy I would probably say that has a good chance to make the cut here is Lee Hodges. Yeah. So he is a really, really accurate golfer. He really doesn't struggle anywhere. Basically, since the Pro Cure, he's missed 1 cut, excluding the Zurich, because I don't care about that. 2, because he missed it, Valero. He has really been good and a lot better with the putter, which has been a huge, and I say massive. He was losing sometimes 2.5 to 1.9 shots with the putter. He has really capitalized and really found that, and he has 5 top 15s already since October. So he has the opportunity to score. He's been performing. He's been playing at a really high level. His accuracy around the green, off the tee, and total numbers have been really good comparatively. But the big one for me is the putter, which is kind of the make or break for an event like this that's going to 20 under. So I think he's going to probably make the cut. If he shoots 3 under, that's going to make a cut. I think we're going home at 7,500.
There you go. No, I agree. I think Lee Hodges just seems like too good of a golfer at 7,500 to not make as many. He makes so many cuts. It just makes sense to throw him in.
Yeah.
So I totally get it. All right. Any other thoughts or 6K?
6K it is.
Cool. Max McGreevy at 6,900 down to, oh boy, who's in this range? Brandon Matthews at 6,000. Hey.
Good luck. I mean, there's one guy in this field that has done well over time, and that is Carson Young. Not related to Cam Young, is T14 and T30 here. At this event, he did miss his last cut outside of the Zurich because I don't care at the Corrales, and he really struggles basically everywhere around the golf ball. But then he has weeks where he has 1.5 through at the putter, 2 off the tee, 1.91 approach play, 6,700. If you're looking for a guy with kind of a flyer, you could do it. I'm not really down here in terms of the kind of the rankings. I'm kind of genuinely scared of this, especially at this lower tier field. But if we're going to be honest, Quade Cummins is the only guy that I may even consider. And I have him in, just a spoiler alert, in my DraftKings. I'm not happy about it because he has lost on approach, which has traditionally been his strength in the Corn Ferry, and almost every single week. His putter has looked better ever since he had a really big mishap in a couple week stretch. But his off the tee metrics are gaining each and every week, which is really good to see outside of Zurich, which I don't care about. So I'm taking a flyer on him. But the only other thought I have about the 6K range is I hope Nate Lashley misses the cut.
Hey, say that name again because you cut out for me for a second. Who you like?
Quade Cummins.
Oh, Quade. Oh, I was going to talk about Quade. Okay. Yeah, he's been playing solid recently. He's finding some footing. He's got 6 top 40s in his last 8 starts. Approach play has gained in 4 of his last 6. I think he's probably the best likelihood in this range to make the cut. If I'm picking another name, I don't hate Danny Walker at 6,600. He's been playing solid recently. He had a T31 at Corrales, again, weak field, but he also finished T6 at the Players, strong field. He finished T64 at Puerto Rico, but then T13 at Mexico, weak field. So he has the ability to do well in weak fields, which is what this is. And so I think at 6,600, you are just relying on Danny Walker to make a cut. And I think he is a lot more likely to make a cut compared to some of the other guys. I mean, like Adam Schenk, who's the same price as him, hasn't made a cut in 7 starts. So that's kind of the range you're dealing with here. I think Ventura has made 1 in his last 5. So you're just really basically rooting on people. I think Danny Walker is a solid option at 6,600 if you have to get down there. Otherwise, take a prayer because it gets pretty ugly pretty quick.
Facts.
Cool. All right. With that, I can't speak for you, Jack, but within the last hour, unless FanDuel's up, I did not see any FanDuel contests. Okay, cool.
Nope.
All right, so we will leave our FanDuel's open. We will just do DraftKings this week. So sorry, if you like somebody specific and you want to get them on FanDuel like Scotty, then follow our DraftKings and try and input it into FanDuel the best you can. With that, Jack, who is in your DraftKings lineup?
Jordan Spieth, number 1, 10,500, my friend. I love it. I'm excited to see Jordan Spieth win this week, and I'm going to cry tears, which will be awesome. Next, I have Ryan Gerard at 8,600. I have Rio Hisasune at an egregious 8,300, but I'm paying every penny of that. I have Sammy Valimaki, 7,300. Harry Hall, 8,000. And Quade Cummins, 6,900. I went out of order, but you guys will figure it out. You're tough.
There you go. See, look at how quickly, Jack. I just entered it in for you, too. Spieth, Gerard, Hisasune, Valimaki, Hall, and Cummins. Easy. Now you're in the dock. Congratulations. All right. For that, I have a very different. Well, I have some same, but some different. My DraftKings lineup, I did get to Scotty Scheffler at 13,300, which I know is a crazy price. I then go Ryan Gerard at 8,600, Alejandro Tosti at 7,300, Davis Riley 7,200, Hayden Springer 7,000, and then Danny Walker at 6,600. So I feel really good about those first 5 guys. I'd love to just see Danny make a cut. Cool. How many bets you got?
I got 4. This is a interesting field, and I'm capitalizing on 4 bets that I really like. Number 1 is Ryan Gerard, made cut at minus 200. He's done this tremendously week over week outside of Puerto Rico. I expect that trend to continue. I have Rio Hisasune to make the cut, also at minus 200. He has also done this week over week outside of the state of Florida, so I continue with that trend. Both those, if I make half a unit, I'm good to go. I have Jordan Spieth top 30 at minus 160. He has done it in 4 straight weeks and 5 out of the last 6. The only one he did miss was at the Players, where he shot a final round 78 to lose that spot, which was horrific. I'd expect the conditions and the tour to be a lot more favorable this week for him, so I love it. And then I have Scotty with the most ridiculous line I think I've ever seen in gambling history. Like I texted Liam the second I saw it.
Yep.
This is only available on Bet365, one of our favorite sports books, if you're listening. Scotty Scheffler to finish 3rd or worse is minus 120.
Yeah, minus 120 for 3rd or worse from Scotty is.
No. I don't think you realize. That's the craziest bet I've ever seen in my life. It's basically a crapshoot. Now, granted, he can go out here and shoot 74 under and win this event, and we could all go home, and I lose 1 unit. But the reality of it is, he has 1 event better than this in his last 8 starts. So All he has to do is lose to two people in a 150-person event. Granted, he is Scotty frickin' Scheffler,
Yeah, I
and
was gonna say.
every single time, but he only has one top 10 and two top 20s in 5 starts at this event where it's been the Byron Nelson. I don't know about this. It was too crazy of a line not to take. That's the
Yeah.
reality of it.
Yeah, I get it. The sad part is first of all, let's talk about that. The line is minus for him to be third or worse, which is wild. That's funny to me. I do kind of want to laugh. So Jack has the bet Scotty third or worse at minus 120. I got Scotty Scheffler top 20 in round one at minus 110. So for him to finish top 20 in the first round is minus 110 on Bet 365. It's probably changed some since then. But as of this morning at like 11:30 in the morning, it was minus 110. So I love to bet both of those in my personal opinion. I think he'll probably finish third or worse, but I think he's going to finish top 20 in the first day. I have 5 other bets as well. I have Benny On over Sung Jae Im. I have Rasmus Højgaard over Tom Kim. I have Alejandro Tosti over Emiliano Grillo. Benny On over Sung Jae is plus 100. Rasmus Højgaard over Tom Kim is minus 110. Tosti over Grillo is minus 160. And then I have 2 missed cut bets. I have Will Zalatoris to miss the cut at plus 162. And I have Tom Kim to miss the cut at plus 150. I think both of them could easily miss the cut. If even just one of them misses the cut, I wouldn't have money off that. So we're good. We'll be all right. I'll basically be even if one of them misses the cut and the other makes it. But I think they both have the opportunity to miss the cut. So on to winners and wild cards. Let's start with wild cards. What's your wild card looking like this week, Jack?
I do have Sam Burns top 10 at plus 275. Now, granted, he has not done this since the century. So this is going to be the week for him. It's all about basically how he does with the approach, because the putter has been spectacular over the last like 6 months, and there's no disputing that. Even when he's missed a cut, he missed the cut at Valspar, gaining 2.4 shots with the putter. That just tells you the status of his game around the green, approach playing off the tee. Now, at RBC Heritage, where he finished 13th, he was right around even for around the green, right around even for approach, and gained off the tee. If he has a week like this and finished 13th at RBC Heritage, imagine what he's going to do against like the 7th guy, which is like Ben Knowles. Like, if this guy, I mean, he has the ability, and I think this is what separates the top 10 in this versus a lot of other events. He has the opportunity to fire 4 66s in a row, or he has that in his bag. So I think this is an event for him that he can capitalize. And if you're giving me almost 3-1 odds for that, I have to take advantage of that from what I've seen.
I like it as a wild card bet. I don't like it. I hate Sam Burns in general. If you want to keep an eye on him, yeah, wild card's the way to do it. I get it.
Thanks.
So, all right, with that, my wild card pick's a fun one. I got Quade Cummins top 30 at plus 275. It is gonna be a tough one, needless to say. But in all honesty, this field's so weak. This could be a good Quade Cummins week. So top 30 is plus 270. You could probably think it's top 40. I think his top 40 was like plus 190. So I don't hate that, but we have a rule where our wild card's got to be at least plus 200. Depending on how the week goes, it might bump up to plus 200 at one point. I would go top 40 then. But unfortunately, I did not have a choice. So top 30 at plus 275 for Quade Cummins is my wild card. Winners, who you got this week, Jack?
I have 3, and these are all markets without Scotty Scheffler because he has the opportunity to go on. Just for the record, you can bet him straight up, like I wouldn't be mad at it, but these are all markets without Scotty Scheffler, for the record. I have Jordan Spieth, who is 18-1 without Scotty, 20-1 with. I have Ryan Gerard, who is 55-1 without Scotty, 65-1 with. And I have Sammy Valimaki, 100-1 without Scotty Scheffler, 130-1 with, if that makes sense. If I said it wrong, you'll figure it out. Whatever the better odds are means without. So those are my 3.
Yeah, I only have mine with Scotty in the field, but again, I would probably bet mine as if I'm doing it without Scotty or just top 5 each ways. But I have Benny On, who again, this is all normal, including Scotty, is a winner. 27-1. I have Jacob Bridgman at 55-1, and I have Davis Riley at 75-1. So overall, I think those are all good options. If you have the ability to just spend limitless amounts of money, I would put a lot of money on Scotty to probably win this week. I think he's most likely going to win, just statistically as well as probability-wise, based on this field and what you need to be good at. But it doesn't make sense for us, too, because we can only use him a couple times a year. So with that, I'm taking Benny, Bridgman, and Riley. Cool. Jack, any other thoughts, or are we leaving it here for next week where we have the Truist / Wells Fargo, and then we also have like the Myrtle Beach, and we have all the other tournaments. PGA is coming up, by the way.
I know. The one thing I will leave is that Minjee Lee is going to win this week. Mark my words, ladies and gentlemen. Minjee Lee. Bet it 14-1.
Calling it out early. All right. I like the plan. All right. With that, we will leave you to it. Safe betting this week, and we will see you next week for the Truist. Deuces.